much. That's perfect. Thank you.
David has his own. I think he's okay.
Hmm. 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 That was really nice.
It is. Isn't it
Yeah,
beautiful?
yeah.
It's like gorgeous.
Mm,
We would make like we should publish this as our
yeah, yeah, yeah. Really should, yeah.
We really should.
Oh, now I realize that we don't even have. I realize we don't even have the beautiful set list we made. We need to cut that out. Right, we just worked on a set list for 2
I
hours.
know.
We know.
I know. We have no access to that.
Yeah.
That's why I made notes for myself.
Oh, good. Yeah. Huh?
But
I mean,
what
I
are you
guess we
gonna
could just
do?
follow. I'll just follow this.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just follow. Does David even have one? No. Okay.
Maybe when you come, we could shift the culture a little.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
let's meet a week early.
yeah, exactly.
Plan the
Yeah,
Seder.
that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. Uh huh.
2 days early.
Uh huh. Uh-huh. So, do you have like a basic set list for tomorrow that we can work from, or
We'll use a prayer list from the past,
yeah, is that okay?
and then we'll make it new
Oh, great. Okay.
with what you do and what I
Great.
do. Okay, we'll just play
Great.
with it.
Sounds good.
I can send you an old one so you can look at it,
Oh, that'll be great.
and then we'll just do it together.
Mhm.
If it makes you feel better to like meet for a little while in the morning,
You did. Thank you.
you're the best.
Thank you.
We can
Holding
do
this
that.
for a family of 9.
But, oh.
Stragglers.
Mhm.
You basically know the service. You were only there once.
Yeah. 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 Hmm.
Red
Yeah.
wine's fine.
Maybe I'll have red. Red's fine. Might drink a little. Yeah.
Yeah. You staffing tomorrow night? David is taking.
Mhm.
Wow, that's good news. There's a lot of buyers. I know, trust me. If I had a voice. Ginyantiv, everybody, Ginyantiv. Chag Sameach, Chag Sameach, welcome. It's great to have all of you here. And also we have, I know what's happening there, Elliot, but we got we have some people online also. Can we see some people online here? Anybody online? 21 people, okay, great. 61, okay. Woo, 61. So how many of you are here for the first time? First timers, raise your hand. First timers. All right. First time at Romemu. I mean, honestly, is that really? It's a night of questions, and no matter. First time Seder. All right. All right. Wow. So my name is David Ingber. I'm the rabbi who founded this place, and I'm really, really thrilled to welcome you all here. And I'm also really honored to be together with Rabbi Dan Kohler-Esses, and for the first time at Romemu in the capacity that will be officially installed as our Director of Music and also Youth and Family Programming. Shimon Smith is with us tonight, everybody. And also, Shimon's wife, who also just began working with us, that's Rebecca, everybody, and thank her for all of the hard work she's putting in. Jeff Kahn is in the back, and so is Elliot. There we go. And who's our moderator tonight? Who's our moderator? Someone. Ari, we love Ari. Oh my God, Ari. So this thing we call a Seder, which means order. Seder, Siddur. By the way, I apologize, my voice, I'm usually singing, but I sound a little froggy tonight. That's good. Thank you all for, exactly. So this crazy thing, this Seder, this 15 steps, if you walk through each and every step, this construction of a ritualized meal around freedom, a freedom meal, liberation, festive enjoy. It's full with symbolic foods and with moments to kind of tell stories and to listen in deeply. It's a profound moment in Jewish history and maybe possibly human history. In fact, it is to some degree some version of history, a reflection on time's movement and on events that occur, and the gift of being able to both be in the present moment and also imagine ourselves, right, from the perspective of the present, reaching into the past and also imagining what a future might look like. And all of that, of course, is happening in under 45 minutes to make sure that you get to the most important question, which is when do we eat, right? But all of it, to some degree, and I don't think it's understatement, it's not an overstatement, we're not overreaching by saying that in some ways the Seder and the rabbinic brilliance that birthed the Seder is responsible for so much of the story of hope that exists in the West. Like there is this notion that tonight's moment is universal. It's particular to the Jewish people, but it's universal in its application. And in some way, the ability to reflect on history, to reflect on events in our lives, both individually and collectively, is a profoundly important capacity, right? To be able to tell a story and to also tell it differently and to add something to it each and every year, each and every telling is vital. And so we have these 15 simanim, these 15 signposts that we just began with. And really fundamentally, Karev Yom, this song that is between, as we're about to begin, is the hope. The hope of this beautiful piyut, of this song is Karev Yom, may a day come that is not night or day, right? A day where redemption is realized, where in some ways, maybe we won't have a Seder any longer. There might not be a need for it. We might just get together and have soup and talk about, oh, you remember the time when equality was a dream? Remember a time when slavery was, rampant, and we just thought, oh, are we ever gonna get there? And so this beautiful song is Karev Yom, may the day come, where it's lo yom v'lo laila, it's neither night or day, it's not anticipating or regretting, it's just already, here.
קרב יום, אשר הוא לא יום ולא לילה. קרב יום, אשר הוא לא יום ולא לילה. רם הודה, 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 הודה. קרב יום, כי לך היום ולא לילה. קרב יום, אשר הוא לא יום ולא לילה. רם הודה, 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 כי לך היום אף לך לילה. רם הודה, 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 כי לך היום אף לך לילה. רם הודה, 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 כי לך היום אף לך לילה. רם הודה, 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 כי לך היום אף לך לילה.
So now we're back to, and we need Ari to put the slides up. Yeah. From the beginning already, we need the slides. Let's slide into the slides. Let's back to the 15 steps, everybody. And join us at the melody of Kadesh or Chatz as we go through. We'll stop again at Kadesh, don't worry. Can you see them on the, yeah? Remember this melody? We just started with it before already.
קדש ורחץ, כרפס יחץ, מגיד רחצה, מוציא מצה, מרום קורא שולחן. צפון בארץ עליהם נמצא. או היה, 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 היה,
Let's fill up the first cup of wine, the first of 4 cups of wine. All right, everybody, fill up a cup of wine, and then we're going to rise, if you're able, for the first cup of wine for Kadesh. Feel free to pour wine for another as a generous act of liberation. Okay, Ari, we're going to need the next slide for the Kadesh, for Kiddush. This word, Kadosh, is a vital Jewish word. It's kind of very hard to fully translate Kadosh, Kiddusha, what it means to be sacred. In traditional Jewish life, Kiddusha was understood as prishut, as something that was separated, something that had been consecrated and set aside as unique. but it has a much more profound, I think, integrative idea, which is like something that permeates our lives and gives it transcendent meaning. And that meaning then kind of permeates our life, right, in some profound way. And so we begin the 15-step journey with what most would consider to be the end of it, which is arriving at holiness. But we start it in full confidence that human beings are all created with an innate, intuitive connection with that which is holy. We can smell it, we can feel it, we know what it feels like. And we have a lot of different words for it, love by any other name, right? By any other word, rose would still be a rose, love would still be love. And so the holy is also something that is in almost every vernacular, pointing towards something that is sacred and profound. And so we lift up our cups of wine, and on the screen, we don't have a page, on the screen, we need to arrange it. There you go. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'am, v'romamanu mikol hashon, v'kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'atitein lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava, moadim l'simcha, chagim
Uzmanim lesason, hagamatzot hazeh,
זמן חירותנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, עם כל העמים. ומועדי קודשך, בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש ישראל והזמנים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Ari, please turn thank you. Ready, everybody, go. 1, 2, 3.
Nine, 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 nine,
We're about to wash our hands, the second stage, and the washing of the hands. The washing of the hands takes place on your table in a moment. And there's a bowl of water you can just dip your hands in. We're going to be preparing to eat karpas, the vegetable.
A kavanah. Is this working okay? A kavanah, an intention before we wash, this time without a blessing. So it's water and wordlessness. And when I think about water and silence, I think about Miriam HaNeviah, Miriam the prophet, waiting and watching as her little baby brother Moses, was left at the banks of the Nile, not knowing what would happen. So it's that expectant, silent waiting, the waiting of faith, the waiting of, I don't know what will happen, but I believe somehow we will survive.
So as we wash our hands, everybody, there's a bowl of water. Ushavtem mayim v'sasone mimayne Yeshua. Ushavtem mayim v'sasone mimayne
Yeshua, מים, 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 הם מים וששון, מים, מים.
So friends, there is celery on your table, and we're going to dip this vegetable, the celery, into a bowl of salt water. And I just want to just remind everybody here in this third stage of our 15 stages, it's so important. So important. Can you hold up the celery that you're holding? Just hold it for a second. Yeah. So we're about to begin telling the story of our people's degradation. The Talmud says that it asks the question, where should we begin telling the story from? Should we begin like with our resume? Look at us. We became such incredible people. You know, we the Jewish people, we went to Harvard, went to Princeton. Look at what we became from nothing. Let's start there, right? Look, let's list all of our accomplishments, you know, the resume that we build and that we tell the world. But the rabbis say, no, you should start with the resume of all your failures. Like all the jobs you didn't get, all the places where you crashed and burned, all the efforts you made that turned into nothing. We begin matchil begnut u'mesayem b'shevach. We start in degradation and in the place of absolute despair and radical. I mean, 430 years in slavery, 430 years. We were completely, you know, when Moshe shows up on the scene after this moment with Miriam, it's like, no, there's no way. And sometimes we lose perspective. And like the seed that our tradition says, the seed that had to decompose in order for this vegetable that's nourishing you to become this nourishing produce, it had to first die. And it must have felt like that for the Israelites. It must have felt like each and every year that went by and things didn't get better, there was no way. And it feels that way sometimes too for us. Believe it or not, even amidst all of the privilege and the remarkable affluence that we live within, sometimes we feel like there's no way that I'm not making it to next month. I know, I'll just speak for myself. I sometimes feel like that. So it's about you, me, all of us here. Sometimes we feel like we're not getting there. It doesn't matter like how good you feel or how great your Facebook posts look. Sometimes we feel like, you know, like that little seed that's like looking for some sunlight and like, what's going on here? I'm losing my identity. I'm coming undone. Little did it know it's going to be the celery that you're going to, you know, hopefully will become this interdependence that Thich Nhat Hanh would say, that this, you know, the sun becomes the seed and the seed becomes the sun and the water becomes the seed and we become all of those elements and we become ourselves recycled in some profound way by that which decomposes, that which falls away can also be that which nourishes us and gives us sustenance in times when things look really bleak. And so the rabbis were brilliant. They say, wash your hands, have faith. And like this little seed that becomes your celery, also have faith. It's going to get darker, says Leonard Cohen. Let it get darker. We're about to start telling the story of how light showed up for the Israelites. And so let's take that vegetable, we'll dip it into the salty tears, and we'll make a blessing. There's a little thing of water that has salt in it. There's no, you can come use our salt water. It's okay. We have some salt water. Let's hold it up for a second and then I'll get your salt water. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri ha'adama. Here. Okay.
When you guys are both talking, you should use that, and then you can just swap it.
Kadesh.
Kadesh, וחס כרפס יחד.
As Rabbi David was saying, we start the Haggadah in Gnai, in degradation, in our vulnerability. And we start not only with tears of bitterness and making our ancestors' experience palpable, right? Their experience and our bitter experience as well. But now we move into yachatz, into brokenness, right? So we break the middle matzah. And in that breaking, there is some hope already, because we will hide half of the matzah and expect at some point for that piece to be reunited. So imagine, feel for a moment all the pieces within you that feel fragmented, that feel like, and I know I feel this so often, I'm all over the place. Or maybe something is missing. Maybe I'm yearning for something missing. Maybe I had that something in childhood and I've spent my adulthood yearning for that thing. And if you could even name it to yourself, like, what is that thing that you're yearning for? What's missing? What's missing? And throughout the course of the Seder, the process of the Seder, the hope and the promise is that it will be restored. It will somehow be reunified.
So this moment, Yachatz, classically there are 3 matzot on your table, three matzahs, no? And there's Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. There's usually a tripartite division of the Jewish people, classically between the Kohen class, the Levites, and then the Yisrael. And the middle matzah, which is the Levite, also represents Moses, who was a Levi. And we're also told by the tradition that the Levi's, the Levi'im, used to be the singers of the songs in the temple. And so the broken song, the broken healer, Moshe, all of us, to some degree, as Rabbi Kolorasis was saying, is bringing in, a fragment, but also a desire to have that part healed. There isn't anyone in the world that doesn't want healing. I don't believe it. And in fact, the Zohar, the 13th century book of mysticism, calls the matzah the healing bread. It also calls it the bread of faith. Michla de menusa. It's faith bread. Like you're ingesting, like giving me faith. And the profound thing about this, what Rabbi Kolorasis was saying about the yachatz, is that it just somehow turned out that we ask our children to go find that bigger piece of matzah that we hide. I mean, think about that. It's a pretty amazing thing. It's like we're going to hide the matzah, but we ask the kids to go find it. If we asked adults, they probably would give up after a couple of minutes, or they would hire someone else to go find it for them. It's like like somebody on like TaskRabbit. Go find my my Avico. But like the inner child, the child in us, when I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful. Like, so we say, hey, Kinderlach, go find what we adults think is not so important. We put it over there, we hide it. And the kids say, I'll show you where it is.
But I thought they go look for it because they're expecting a present.
Yeah. There's a lot of way you have to motivate kids, So if all of you at the table, you should have a couple of matzahs. And so choose one matzah, lift it up, and we're going to do a break together. And before you break it, let's say together some version of, may all of our breakings be for opening. May all of the things that break in this world lead us to find what is missing. And so give it a good break. So who's going to look for the matzah? Who's going to look for it? Somebody going to look for it? What you can do is you can take a napkin and then put the afikomen into a napkin. Let's gather all the afikomens on this table over here. Just yeah, right here, like an afikomen stash, right there. Yeah, just get over there. Such an important. Here we go, Magi. This is the centerpiece of it, guys. Magi, say it together, Magi. One more time, Magi.
Magi.
You can hear the word Haggadah in there, right? Haggadah, Magid, Haggadah. What is a gid? What is a gid, everybody? What's that word? Anybody know what a gid is? No, gid is not a story. It becomes story. It's the etymology of the word story is in the word gid. A gid is a sinew, something that binds things together.
It's in your body.
It's in your body. It connects. It's a ligament. It actually ligament, like the word religion is to ligament, to be connected. So Haggadah is our binder. This is what binds us together. These stories are the stories that bind us. Rabbi Kolar says, tell us about stories.
So the Kabbalah and some of the Hasidic masters after them talk about Pesach as the holiday of the open mouth. Pesach. And if you think about it, everything we do tonight, we drink wine, we eat, we tell our stories, our mouth is constantly open, right? Not so unusual for Jews, but but I think tonight it has a special significance. How do we, what is it about storytelling and about even, we're literally eating our story, right? We're eating the karpas dipped into salt water, dipped into tears. We're literally tonight eating our story, right? Eating our symbols of our story, but really ingesting our story. So we're telling the story on symbolic levels, but we're also literally taking it in. And I think there's something about storytelling that's naturally expanding, not because I'm telling you my story, but because I'm listening to your story. And I'm listening to the stories of my ancestors. And with that, right, with every story, my consciousness expands and becomes bigger. And I think, oh my God, there are all these possibilities here that I couldn't imagine before I heard your story. And now, when we move into halachma anya, we're back to the theme of our story begins with degradation, because we say, everyone who's hungry, come and eat. Everyone who's needy has a place at the table. And I think there are two secrets here that perhaps we don't like to tell. One is, we don't really have room for every single needy person. We aspire to that. And the other secret is, every single one of us is needy and hungry. So let's start from that neediness and that hunger, and I promise you, we're heading towards praise.
Amen. So look at the bread on the table, matzah. I know it's not bread, but it's lechem. Halachma anya.
Halachma anya. מתנה בהרה בהרה במצרים בהרה בהרה במצרים כל דכפין יתה ויכול כל דצריך יתה ויפסע השתה לשנה הבאה בעד ישראל השתה הרבה לשנה הבאה בנכורים הלחמה על ידי אכלו המתנה בהרה בהרה במצרים בהרה בהרה במצרים כל דכפין יתה ויכול כל דצריך יתה ויפסע השתה אחת לשנה הבאה בעד ישראל השתה עד לשנה הבאה בנכורים.
So let's do a couple of things. Let's bind together some of what's outside and what's on the inside. So at your table now, we're going to ask you to take a couple of moments. But first, I'd love to know if when you think of the word being needy, when you think of that word, of your own needs, if you take a moment just to close your eyes and hear in Rabbi Kohler Esses prompt a particular place in you that responds to that label, my needs, or my neediness, that which is needy in me, my needs. And just notice whatever's there. If maybe there's some judgment around being needy, even that term needy sometimes has a valence of judgment around it, being someone who wants, wanting. And then if you take a little journey beyond yourself into some place in your life where there are other people with needs, just noticing some of the needs in your immediate circle of friends or immediate family, and hold those needs too. And if you'd also invite in at this moment all who are hungry, meaning anything in the world that is hungry and needy, literally or figuratively for yourself, that you're holding tonight. And whenever you're ready, if you'd like to open your eyes and just come back into the table, the shulchan that you are at, and we'll take about 3 minutes on a question that is alive at this moment in the Seder, which is what's different about you or about the world at this particular moment, this year. If you will, turn to maybe one person at your table instead of going around. I think it's a bit more intimate. So just turn to one person and just say, what's different for you this year? What's different in the world? And we'll take 3 minutes. It's 8. We'll go till about 8:14. Okay? So go ahead, everybody. Find somebody, introduce yourself, say hello.
Who the youngest is?
My son is my 13. Yeah. No, just there. Maybe there would come out. Usually doesn't.
We
I want to see.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah, yep, it is. Yeah. No, it's very different. They stop. There's no more quarantining at Louis school. There's no more. Like even if someone's exposed and stuff, they're almost making you feel stupid for a testing. Like it's like, oh yeah, it's like that's what, they make it. No, no, they're still working. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, this is different. Last Passover, I had a gig in Long Island. So no, I wasn't there yet. It was in July. Yeah, a lot of changes. Yes. Yeah, no, not this. No. But yeah. I'm really hoping to get settled. That's what I'm really hoping. But yeah. No, well, yeah. It was really nice. What was it? Debbie Bravo. Yes, she has a home. It was nice. I think that's where I lost McDonald's there. David gave me a palace, yeah. David gave me a palace last time I was here. Really nice. I lost it. It's not to be found. It was my bar mitzvah. That's okay. Yeah. Surprise. What's after that? Abadim? Should we just do Manishkana?
We'll do 1 minute, so that's what's needed. Let's do Manishkana. Everybody, as we come back, the youngest person in the room is going to lead us in the Manishtana.
I don't think that's me, but it's all right.
Okay, let's invite all the children into the room.
Jeff has his eyes on everybody.
We had the 4 questions, everybody. What's different? Who's different? מה נשתנה הלילה הזה?
שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שהירקות, הלילה הזה כולו מרור, הלילה הזה כולו מרור, שבכל הלילות אין אנו מטבילין אפילו פעם אחת, אפילו פעם אחת. הלילה הזה שתי פעמים, הלילה הזה שתי פעמים, ושבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים בין יושבים ובין מסובים, בין יושבים ובין מסובים. הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים. הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים.
Slide 20, I think it is. Avadim Hayinu, we were once slaves, everybody. Avadim Hayinu.
אתה בני חורים, בני חורים, עבדים היינו, אתה בני חורים, עבדים היינו, אתה בני חורים, עבדים היינו.
So the funniest thing in our tradition, Hebrew is so beautiful in that it tells so many stories in every phrase, like how we, how language evolves and how phrases become connected to other words. So the word chorin, b'nei chorin, we just read is we are children. What's a chor? What's a chor? Anybody know? B'nei chorin means to be free. What is a chor? A hole. A hole. A hole. To be porous. There was once a great Zen master who was in the monastery when a group of samurais came and they ransacked the temple, and they found him sitting in zazen. He was sitting and meditating. And one samurai, a great samurai, was standing there, and he lifted his sword above the head of the monk, and he says, "Don't you know who I am? I'm the one who could run you through with this sword." And the monk was sitting in great meditative absorption without missing a beat, didn't even look up. I said, "Do you know who I am? I'm the one whom you can run through very easily with that sword." And it completely disarmed the samurai. Said, "I am porous. I'm open." In many ways, the Midrash, the rabbis say that Mitzrayim, the narrow place called Egypt, was closed in every which way. There's even one Jewish folklore, a Midrash, that says that Pharaoh wouldn't even go to the bathroom in public view. Like, he had to hide and go to the bathroom like at 3 a.m. He was embarrassed by the vulnerability of his body, by the holes of his body, right? The fact that his body, there were apertures that made him vulnerable to that which was outside and inside. He wanted to be impenetrable. He wanted to be a rock. He wanted to be an island, right? So here we are, Avadim Hayinu, we were slaves. And in many ways, when we close ourselves off and we deny how vulnerable we are, we also remain in that way not free. We remain sealed, and in so many ways, our friends who are tonight in Rikers Island celebrating together with prisoners who are there, we have members of our community who have made their way there to emphasize the need for a programmatic approach to how we treat those who are incarcerated in our world. like even when they're closed, can there also be openness that means porous and vulnerable and true to their human dignity? And so there are members of the Romemu community tonight who are remarkably, miraculously with those who are incarcerated, bringing them some hope and telling them a story of freedom and liberation. So Avad Mayinu Lefar b'Mitzrayim.
Next slide. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. והיא שעמדה לאבותינו, והיא שעמדה לאמותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, עמד עלינו לכלותנו, והיא שעמדה לאבותינו, והיא שעמדה לאמותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, עמד עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידם, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו והיא שעמדה לאבותינו, והיא שעמדה לאמותינו ולנו, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, עמד עלינו לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידם, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, מצילנו מידם, שלא אחד בלבד עמד עלינו לכלותנו, לכלותנו, והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו, הקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מידם. Nine, 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 nine. Yay, nine, 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 yay, nine, 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 nine.
So just a moment, it's important for us to ground ourselves in this moment, because the rabbis of the Seder want us to stop and take a moment and have a reflection on what it is that has given us the ability to persevere throughout all of these generations. You know, we find ourselves here, and many of us, again, shockingly, amidst all of the other social ills that so many of our brothers and sisters, so many of our Jewish family have been on the front lines of so many ills that exist in society and trying to eradicate them. And yet here we are in 2023, and yet again, we make the top list of the most hated, religious groups in the country. A vast majority of religious hate crimes that are perpetrated in this amazingly beautiful, bountiful place happen to Jews. And for the most part, they happen to people who are outwardly Jewish, who don't pass as not Jewish. There's a predominance of the anti-Semitic attacks that take place against Jews who are outwardly or externally in some way reflecting their Jewishness, and it makes many people want to hide that just to keep safe. And I think that it's so important for us to be able to stand in our Jewishness at this time, and in that way also continue to fight for all people to be able to stand in whom they are. So many horrible bills now trying to be enacted against, anti-trans bills, right? Our fellow human beings who are trans to be able to be out and proud of who they are. So many people in the world, Muslims who've been, Islamophobia, of course, is not going anywhere, and Asian hate is not going anywhere, unfortunately. And so we want to be able to say that each and every one of you should be able to be free to be you. And we Jews also, we should be able to walk around proud with our kippot on or not, with a Jewish star or not, but say, I'm a Jew and I'm proud, and I'll say it out loud. Because forever, that's what I'll be. So, that to be proud of who you are is an aspiration, a yearning to be free, right? To be free in that way. The Torah tells us about 4 different kinds of children, a really, a bit of a complicated piece of the Haggadah, Rabbi Kolaresis. There's 4 children, what's the business with the 4 children?
Well, the first child is kind of a wise guy, right? The first child knows everything and knows the laws and the statutes. And I think there's an implication that the wise guy is kind of at the pinnacle of value here. But it's not entirely clear, because the evil one, the Rasha, and I know it sort of hurts our hearts to think that a child is being labeled evil, but it's interesting what is being labeled evil. So the evil child speaks in a language that's very similar to the wise guy, but says, what do all these statutes and laws mean to you? Not to me, right? Taking the Rasha takes himself out of the community, right? And this Passover, is a time of national birth, right? If you take yourself out of the we, the rabbis tell us, then he won't be part of the we. He'll remain outside the camp. And then there's the innocent one that says simply, and perhaps with beginner's mind, what is this? What are we doing here? Why are we gathered in this room? What? Very simply, basically, and existentially, what is this? And finally, there's a child who does not know how to speak. And who are these children? Are they different stages of life? Are they different parts of us? Are they different kinds of children and people? So we wanted to play a little bit with you and ask you who these children are, starting with the wise child.
So we just asked somebody to speak as the wise child. Who would like to speak as the wise child? You're the wise guy, the gal, you're the wise person. You be that person, and we're gonna come over and ask you to speak in the first person. Anybody? I see
Jeffrey,
people smiling.
can you take the microphone?
I'll move it. Want to be the wise child? Who wants to be the?
Takes a little courage to
it's okay.
Step into the role.
Safe space. Cool. Roberta.
Take space. Stand up and take space.
I'm sorry I didn't see you. Cool. I'm happy. Good. So who are you? You're the wise guy?
Yeah, I'm Ari.
The wise guy.
Ari the wise guy. What are you asking me for? You should know everything too. I know everything. You should know everything. Oh, everything. About everybody. I can read you all like a book. Is that wise enough?
Yeah, that's wise.
All right.
So you,
I'm really not that wise.
no, stay and roll.
You know, been there, done that. You know,
What,
if you
what
know,
wisdom do you have to share with us? What do you want to tell us?
you should all work a lot harder.
At
I
becoming,
could just see it's a room full of slackers. I'm the hardest working man in here, and you guys need to get to it.
okay.
Especially you and you and you.
So the wise
So I just
child
wanna
is
say-
proud.
No, I was gonna say the wise child and the arrogant child seem to miss
Yeah,
together,
yeah,
kind of,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I don't know. Does wisdom are you're so wise that you feel like you're arrogant? Yeah, because you know more than everybody. But could you just dip in for a second, Ari, because you're the wisest person in the room? Could you give us a little nugget of wisdom on freedom and what liberation means to you? Because you're wise, and we need that.
Okay. Well, it's kind of apropos. I am someone who's never really had a community, and I've never been able to say I'm this. I'm half Jewish. My father's side is Jewish. My mother's side is Episcopalian. And so it's quite German and Russian. So, you know, that's I've heard all the jokes, so you don't have to add any. But what that forced me to really learn was that it's really not about this tribalism. It's really about each of us as an individual coming together and honoring and respecting each other the same way that you're saying, from all these different things, and trying to free ourselves. Now, I'm a little guy, as you can see. I had to grow up in the streets. I was homeless as a child for many years. And really in there, compassion. Everybody's trying to be something. I'm this thing, and you're not that thing, and you're not part of this group. You shouldn't be around here. It's always this very abusive approach. And because I never had a community, never lived in one place, never had a people, the only thing I had was compassion. And what I couldn't get, I would give to everybody.
Wow, it turns out, Ari, you really are the wise child.
Yes, but I'm also a smarty. Thank you.
Going on
Wow.
to wicked,
Who's gonna be the wicked, cynical?
wicked, cynical, or play it any way you want to play it.
What's Russia?
What's
you know?
Russia?
Over here?
Over
Okay.
there.
I'm making my way. I'll get there. I'll get there. I'll get there. Okay. What's your name? Arden, and you're the Rasha. You're like, whatever that means. I mean, we're all wondering, what does that mean?
Well, I'm just a bad guy, aren't I? Like you know, like you're just gonna label me as a bad guy? Like, well, so what? Like, well, maybe you're bad. Well, like who's to say who's a bad person? Like, you know, it's you know, it's like why throw rocks in glass houses? You know. Possibly, yeah. Maybe they ask different questions. Maybe they're not asking questions about why I'm asking the questions I'm asking.
Well, I can tell you why I think you're bad. You always stand apart and you judge the rest of us. Yeah, I can't take it anymore. Like the wise guy, but a little bit different.
Maybe I define things differently while being part of the group.
Are you part of the group?
I consider that, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm part of many groups.
Okay.
I just feel like you're angry about something, but I just can't get it. Like, are you angry because you're disappointed because you kind of really want to be a part of the group, or like you feel hurt by the fact that they didn't get you? But like, it just feels like that's my sense. Are you? Is that something true for you, or I don't know? I'm just making it up. Do you wish you could be part of that group?
Possibly, yeah, maybe, yeah. If I'm not being called the bad one, yeah.
Well, once you start getting called a bad one, it's hard not to be that, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
So you kind of find you don't want to go be part of that group. You'll find another group where you won't be such a bad guy. Are there groups where you're not a bad guy?
Yeah. Well, I can make myself. I can make, I can find a group. I could also like make a group into like, a group where I can be the good guy, or I can make myself into being the good guy.
So there's like a whole group of people like you, the Rishayim group, that were really in their group. They're not Rishayim. They're not like the bad guys. Like, amazing. Well, how could we, could you give us some of your, like, how could we help? What would we learn from you?
Well, I think it's sometimes when you see darkness around, we see destruction around. Maybe it's not that, oh, this has to be the end all be all, but maybe that can highlight the light. Maybe the darkness can highlight the light and highlight a path to the light, towards somewhere better. A place that you wouldn't see without the darkness around it.
We've heard from
Some
the
more
Rasha.
wisdom from the
Really,
Rasha.
seriously, it seems like there's
Wow.
all of these children seem to have a certain version of wisdom. Who's next?
Who's next is the Tom, the pure one, the one who kind of wants to understand what's going on. Let's to play that. Perhaps the one who manifests beginner's mind.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go. So what's your name?
My name is Kathy.
Kathy, are you the innocent one?
I just don't really understand what everybody's talking about.
It's like,
I mean, why is it so important? Why is there so much talking and noise and
A lot of
I
words.
don't understand? And when can we eat? This seems. Seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's a good question. That's the question. When can we eat? So things are just like, why can't think? You're like, what's the big deal, or
Well,
why is everybody so worked
like
up?
everybody's talking about something they already know about, but nobody's saying what it really means.
Sounds like you need a little orientation. What's going on here?
Yeah, and something that's easier to understand.
Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling overwhelmed tonight?
Well, there's 15 parts. I don't, how do they fit together? Is anybody going to say it in a way I can hang on to? Because we keep drifting away and coming back and drifting away and coming back, and I want to follow, but I don't know how to. I don't know where to land. I don't know where to land. So I'm a little worried. I'm a little afraid to follow. I'm eager, but I'm tender.
Wow. So it sounds like your innocence is like not really innocent, but more like you're a marketing guru that wants to know, like, I'm not interested in reading like the full book. Just give me like the cliff notes, and so that I can remember it, because I want to remember it. And you guys are burdening me with complexity. I want something simple, memorable, so I can act on it.
I want something and I want something in the language of the heart.
Language of the heart.
Yeah.
What do you want to say from the language of the heart? Is there something you want to say about freedom that we could hold on to, and then maybe you could hold on to as well?
Sometimes people look free, but they're really imprisoned.
And how do you think we could help them? What do you think we can do? Because maybe that's the worst, to look free and be in prison, because then we don't know that those people need help.
Assume nothing. That's what I would say.
I love this. This is almost like the Tao of Passover. Like It's like, where's Day and there's Winnie. And you're like, just give it to me simple, like, all the complexities, Passover becomes Passover. And we're just like Pooh was just keep it simple. Like, we were slaves, we're free. Let's see.
Yeah. It's,
Wow.
Slaves, we're free, let's eat, end of story.
End of story. Okay. Yeah, sure. Oh, that's great. So what? There's also the Torah that we learned from each of these children, and we're going to get to the last one.
Amazing.
But there's also the Torah that the children, right, need to hear also from the adults. Like on some level, like each one is asking because they're children and they're saying, adults, please meet our needs. One says, I have a need to be chacham for a community. I need you to know that it's not about tribes. Another one says it's not about othering and darkness, but darkness has light in it. And another one says, keep it short, sweet, and simple so that I can digest it and know how to go forward. And each one of them, we would have like a rebuttal or response and say like, yeah, we get it. There's wisdom there. And also it's complicated. So, okay, we're gonna go to the fourth kid. And there's gotta be someone here that doesn't even know how to ask a question, which of course, the minute you raise your hand, you're disqualified.
You're not that
okay.
kid.
Okay.
But Roberta is like jumping up.
Thank you so much for your wisdom, Kathy.
I'm struggling to feel safe enough in this Jewish community so that I can ask my real questions.
So something about safety and questions are intimately connected. That being able to voice a question, that the reason why you think I don't know how to ask, but really it's not that I don't know how to ask, I don't feel safe enough to ask. Right? She'eini yodea lish'ol is not that
I'm afraid to ask.
it's I'm afraid to ask.
Or I feel like in this environment, I can't ask.
Right. So how could we?
I don't know. And I don't know how to get beyond what I don't know, really. Like, I don't know if it's really safe. And I could see that the only way I could find out is by taking the risk. But it's like there's some I have to come out of silence to do that. And it's
What
scary.
are some of the dangers that lurk were questions to be born and then externalized?
Thank you for that question. I guess it's being excommunicated or
Canceled.
shunned or
I'm hearing that every child here wants to know if they belong. And you also want to know if you belong with everything inside of you that's been silenced.
I think I want to trust that when we talk about the whole that we need the entire all of the Jewish people to come together to really fulfill our spiritual mission. I want to trust that that includes me and what I believe, like that I don't have to change to, like toe the party line or a party line. I think that's what you were saying there too. That's what the Rasha was saying, right? Yeah.
So I think what you're bringing up as the one who doesn't feel safe to ask is a broader question that is at the heart of the Seder. And I'll keep it simple for the simple child and for the wise one, you already know this, and for the Rasha, I'm including you, so I just want you to know that. I think that at the heart of the Seder is about, as you said, peoplehood, community, and are there limits? Like, is everything okay? And are there limits? And is it possible for me to take myself out of this community? Is there something I might ask or raise that might be so horrible and difficult for someone to hear or look at, that confronting that might make them want to expel you or not want you to be a part of it. And I think that that's a living question, I think, in every family, in every community, in every group,
In every congregation.
and in every congregation. It's certainly the case. And it cuts in every direction, right? In every imaginable direction. There are people who think they can't say this, they can't say that. What happens when I do say this? What will people say? And so I'll keep my questions to myself. And I think it's a really profound piece of truth, right? There's something about questions that can destabilize people and systems.
And there's something about freedom that can destabilize, which is why we have a Seder, to kind of reorganize ourselves around freedom.
Right.
Right? You have to keep reorganizing oneself when things are destabilized, and yet destabilization is crucial. But how much can we tolerate?
Wow. I hope that wasn't over, especially if you're the Tom, I hope that didn't go over, or if you're the wise person, I hope you're okay with the fact that and if you're the Rasha, I hope you're not hating us right now. And if you're someone who has questions, and you're afraid to ask them, I hope that being able to say that you're afraid to ask them is itself the beginning of being able to ask them.
It says you shall open for them.
Right.
Right? And in a way, you've just opened up the silence on the way to your questions. Right? You've opened a path. That's what I'm hearing, at least.
I used to grow in the world that I grew up in. They said there was a fifth child, the one who doesn't even show up at the Seder. Right? The one who doesn't even know that there's a Seder to go to, or there's a community that's interested, or that there's a Jewish tradition that can hold them, or that their questions, even if they're latent and not yet manifest, are real. And all of these children, in a way, by including them in the Seder, Haggadah, they're in the Seder. If the rabbis really wanted to silence the Rasha and silence the one who had no questions, they wouldn't have put them into the Haggadah. The fact that they're there is to draw attention to it and to say, oh, look, how might we relate to those parts of ourselves that are afraid, or the parts of ourselves that have been judged and then exiled, the parts of ourselves that are really smart, and the parts of ourselves that really just want it, just give it to me straight. And so the brilliance of the Haggadah and the moment is to bring all of those children here tonight to be with us. Yeah, we can do some clapping for that. Beautiful. Okay, everybody, here we go. Ari, please put up the screen. Let my people go.
When Israel was in Egypt land, oppressed so hard they could not stand. My people go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my So Moses went to Egypt land. My people go. He made old Pharaoh understand. Let my people go. Yes, the Lord said, go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus spoke the Lord, Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborns dead. The Lord said, go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. So go down, Moses, let my people go.
So we come to a difficult part of the Haggadah, the part of the Haggadah that has to do with the plagues. Theology of the plagues would take us into a very complicated territory, and we want to honor the simple child tonight also and say there are plagues, of course, that the biblical plagues pale in comparison to. There are plagues of our own doing, plagues of our own volition, plagues of our own agency, plagues. And certainly, I think in the last couple of years, how many of you were in a public Seder in the last 3 years? Maybe one or maybe last year was one. Some of you were there last year. How many are here tonight for the first time in a public, like in a big kind of like since COVID? Yeah. So we know from plagues already in the last couple of years, right? We know from plagues. And I guess on some level, I know that we have to eat at some point, but Rabbi Kohler says, plagues.
Plague of hunger
Yes.
before the Seder.
I mean, you know,
Yeah, I have something to say about plagues. They're so unfair. Like we read the Torah and we say, oh my God, why do we have a God like this? Why do we have a God that would punish, Egyptians? Granted, they're cruel. They threw Israelite babies into the water, into the Nile, and murdered them. But was every Egyptian evil? Like, why these widespread plagues? And I think about our own times. Like, there are plagues. The earth is heating up. It has a fever, one could say, is developing a fever. And we are suffering from plagues that are not discriminating, right? They're not discriminating. I mean, I was going to say they don't discriminate between rich and poor. That's a little complicated because the rich are able to keep themselves safe in certain ways. But these plagues are massive and they're scary. And it doesn't feel, or does feel like the Torah is getting at something that's perhaps deep and true, which is when we're out of alignment with the world in some profound way, we will suffer. And not because there's some God that's telling us, I'm going to strike you down but because you did this, but because we're in dialogue with the rest of the world and there's something out of alignment.
I also want to lift up, as I like to do, the core survival value, though, of this God for a people that were decidedly impotent, as we know, for at least 2,000 years in exile. And thankfully, we didn't have power. And of course, that's always the question, once you have power, how you use it, right? When you were a victim and then become powerful. But for a victimized people, and we were for 2,000 years, knowing that someone was on your side was probably really powerfully important. We felt like we were bullied by the world and God was going to be our champion. So I also wrestle with that theology, but I also want to lift up, like, if, as Elie Wiesel, we talked about Elie Wiesel last week during our open book, I can imagine the 6 million Jews during the Holocaust wished that a pretty vengeful God would come down and destroy Majdanek and Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen and bring plagues. So I think that we in some way, our evolved sense of what God could and should be and how we create our own theologies is really up against also sometimes the more intuitive way that people use theology to survive. And so I think that's part of the story of the Torah, is that, like, having vengeance, at least on a fantasy level, it might have a powerful healing possibility for people who have no capacity to actually.
The Israelites finally had an advocate.
Yeah, that they finally had an advocate.
Something was
right.
standing up for them.
Right. And if it got stuck there, you're right, we would be stuck. Thankfully, we've we can see its value without actually wanting to enact it in the world in a certain way, and we can almost forgive the text for its almost childish fantasy with a God who'll come and take out, her vengeance on all of God's enemies or the Jewish people's enemies. But we thankfully have more evolved ways, hopefully, maybe we don't, but maybe we should have more
Well, it's
evolved
really
ways.
interesting also literarily in the book of Exodus, because language isn't working, right? The Pharaoh can't hear, the Israelites can't speak, Moses can't speak, and God resorts, one could say, to plagues as the only language available at that moment in order to free the Israelites.
It's almost
And
like an
This is a whole
intervention.
conversation.
Right, but it's like an
right?
intervention, like
an
Pharaoh needs to
intervention.
hit rock bottom. He's
Yeah.
addicted to power. He's addicted to these Israelites, and it's like you're gonna have to have some sufferings that you will let go.
In the face of no listening.
Right, I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Right. So, okay, maybe hopefully that was useful context for some of you, maybe not. But into your now refilled cups of wine, let's do some Dam Svardeya. So give your big pinkies. Some say this custom of removing wine is itself an act of compassion. Some say that dipping our pinkies into the wine is itself an act of compassion to lessen the suffering of the Egyptians, right? Or at least acknowledging at this moment also that reminder. Or to feel the plague itself, right? Beautiful. So let's put our pinkies in and dip on the tablecloth, get it nice and full of stains. Dam Svardeya Kinim Arov Dever Shechin Barad Arbe Choshech Makat Bechorot, and call out any plagues that you would like us to also to remove some wine for at this moment. What is another? We can't hear addictions, gun violence, racism, homophobia, selfishness, tyranny, sociopathic, narcissistic leaders who won't go away. Voldemort. Right, ultra-nationalist governments that anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, hatred of fellow human beings, seeing others as other, close-heartedness, materialism, our unwillingness to do what we can to bring healthcare to every human being and housing to every human being, worship of technology, not safeguarding our children, censorship. Okay. Wow, but we're so lucky. We have so many things. We're so lucky. We have so much to be thankful for. We have more than enough, maybe even more than enough. Right? Like, wow, Dayenu, amazing.
אילו הוציאנו ממצרים, לא עשה בהם שפטים, דיינו, דיינו, השבת ולא קרבנו לפני הר סיני, דיינו. אילו קרבנו לפני הר סיני ולא נתן לנו את התורה, דיינו, 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 ניסענו לארץ ישראל ולא בלע לנו את בית הבחירה, דיינו. דיינו, דיינו, דיינו,
on your Seder plate, in the middle of your table, you'll see 3 symbols. And there was a great rabbi named Rabbi Gamliel, and he used to say that if you didn't say these 3 things and explain them, you didn't fulfill your obligation. So really, Kathy, Rabbi Gamliel was a Tom. He was a Tom. He was simple in this. He said, you know what, all this stuff, 3 things, like the Buddha, the triptycha, the 3 baskets, there's just 3 things to remember. They are, please point to something that looks like a Paschal lamb's leg. Look at that leg and point to it. Everybody say, Pesach. And then you see the maror, that's the herb, the bitter herb, say, maror. And then look at the matzah, say, matzah. Rabbi Gamliel היה אומר, כל שלוש אמר שלושה דברים אלו בפסח לא יצא ידי חובתו. So these 3 things, let's look at Pesach. Pesach, what is Pesach? As I say every year to those in the community, and I'm sure at least one person might remember, but hopefully more, Pesach is really for a theist, for someone who believes in a God who passes over homes. Pesach is a great name. But for those of you and me and a lot of us who are like, okay, it's more about, Pesach was less about God and more about humans. We didn't pass over, we passed through. The name Pesach, which means skip over, is the action that God did. God skipped over the homes of the Israelites. But we, Israelites, had to do something in order to merit that. We had to be willing to take the God of Egypt, bring it into our homes for 4 days, slaughter that God, use its blood to create basically a birth canal on our doorposts. And then we had to take this courageous step and walk out. So we passed through, even though God, in some profound way, was passing over, we still had the work to do. And so for you, Kathy, for the Tom in all of us, Paschal offering is the courage to do the thing you think you cannot do. The courage to walk into a new reality, to be born into something that you were terrified of stepping into. That's step number 1. That's Paschal.
I just want to add one note on the Paschal, on the Pesach, on the Paschal lamb, because I think at this moment, it's also painful to think about who was skipped over and who was not skipped over. And that's so acutely, we're so acutely aware of that we've come through, the people in this room, a pandemic, and so many did not come through. So being skipped over is an occasion for gratitude. It's also an occasion for guilt and sadness. It's complicated, more complicated than Kathy probably wants to hear.
Maybe.
Matzah. Second thing, look at the matzah. Matzah has 2 faces, the face of slavery and also the face of freedom. Matzah represents simplicity, and as such, it's called the bread of faith, but it's also, it's poor person's bread. Meaning, like when you felt that there was scarcity and that you didn't have enough and you had to put some on the side, right? Matzah is like the things that you left behind that you thought you needed, but you really didn't. And it's also the mentality that you couldn't believe that you were going to have another moment, so you had to always be mindful of every single piece of food that you ate. Where's the next, morsel going to come from? So matzah. Maror. Maror is the bitter herb, and it's, if anyone would ever go to a Buddhist Seder, this would be the only thing that you would eat in the beginning. It would just be, it's just suffering. It's not true. It's also not true. It's dukkha, but it's we eat, like if the Buddha had 4 noble truths, and one of them was that life is suffering, but he also believed the 4th noble truth is that there was a path to liberation. And so we take this maror, which represents all of dukkha, all suffering, small, medium, large, extra large, tall, venti suffering, the whole thing. And we mix it together with matzah, and we tell a story of freedom. And maror is because we suffered incredible indignation. So we're gonna move into the eating of our suffering, our freedom, and the freedom sandwich. Okay, so we got to go back to the beginning, to the Kadesh. קדש וחץ כבש יחץ מדהים רצה מוציא מצה
Rachza. Rub the rachza. So we're going to wash hands, everybody. There's a washing station over here, and there's a washing station over there. If it is your custom to wash hands, please do so. If it isn't, I'll explain to you. It's just a ritual washing of the hands with a blessing, and then we get ready to eat the matzah and some maror. If you're going to wash your hands, now's the time.
ושבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה ושבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה מים 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 הם מים בששון מים 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 הם מים בששון היי 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 מים 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 בששון מים 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 בששון שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה מים 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 הם מים בששון מים 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 הם מים בששון היי 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 מים 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 בששון מים 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 בששון שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה מים 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 הם מים בששון מים 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 הם מים בששון היי 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 מים 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 בששון מים 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 בששון שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה מים 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 הם מים בששון מים 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 הם מים בששון היי 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 מים 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 בששון מים 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 בששון שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה שבתם מים בששון ממעייני הישועה
I forgot one thing. Hold up your glass. Good, good, good. Hold up your glass, your cup of wine for the second blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Seder.
שמי השמיים והמים אשר מעל השמיים. הללו את שם אדוני כי ציווה ונברא ויעבידם לעולם בוקר נתן ולא יבוא. הללו את שם אדוני כי הוא ציווה ונברא ויעמידם לעולם בוקר נתן ולא יבוא.
Hold up your matzah, please, everyone. Ooh, yeah. Hold up your matzah, everyone. Hold your matzah. Oh, hold your matzah. This is the bread of affliction. This is the bread of simplicity. This is the bread of our ancestors, the bread of all people who yearn for freedom, for all people who yearn to tell their story. This is called the story bread, the bread she'onim alav dvarim harbe, that when it opens, it tells its secrets, the secret of faith, the secret of the urgency of now, of leaving, letting it all go, not waiting. So we hold this as a prayer for all of us and for all of humanity. Please join me in this bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech hamotzi lechem min. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah.
יעלו את שם אדוני כי הוא ציווה ונברא ויעבידם לעד לעולם בוקר נתן ולא יבוא. הללו את שם אדוני כי הוא ציווה ונברא ויעבידם לעד לעולם בוקר נתן ולא יבוא. מוציא
So everybody take a piece of horseradish. A horseradish. Not the shredded one. There should be, are there pieces? Okay, whatever you have. Charoset, there's charoset. We want to sweeten judgment. May all judgments be sweetened. Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. If anybody would like to make a sandwich, this is where it gets interesting. Hillel, the great sage Hillel, used to make a sandwich out of the Paschal offering, the maror and the matzah together, like a little roast beef sandwich. And this is a reminder of that concoction. Like a sandwich, metabolizing, eating our story, eating our freedom. So you take 2 pieces of matzah, put some maror in the middle, and a little charoset, and you have a little hillel sandwich. 4 sandwiches were invented, exactly. Zecher Mikdash. Kenei Ahilo Sebes Masha Beit Hamikdash Hayakayam Yakrech Matzo Maror Pesach Matzo Maror Ve'ochlam Beyachad Lekayem Masha Katuv Al Matzot Umorim Mirorim Yochluhu. Enjoy, everybody. So my teacher, Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi, Alav Shalom, a blessed memory. I was told this Torah this morning by Jeff Kahn. Jeff, our executive director, was listening to a class that Rabbi Zalman gave, and he said, you know, we all know that the most important question is when do we eat? But he said the way that the Seder is constructed, the way that it's built is actually to impress upon us what it is to want something and not be able to have it yet. Which is the truth of suffering, right? The truth of suffering is the expectation, the anticipation of something that you don't have, and whether it's freedom or just 10 more minutes until we eat, right? He said it's an embodied experience of what the slaves must have felt like, hoping, right? In our case, we have much more sublime wants, like, can we get to the chicken now? But it's important. So I just want to thank all of you for being patient. If you're here for the first time again at Romemu, we're so thankful that you chose to come and celebrate with us tonight, whether you have a community or you don't. This is a very open community. And as I like to say at Romemu all the time, the Jews are not only the people of the book, but we're also the people of the door. And if Passover tells us anything about who we are as a people, it's about what it is to have the courage to leave something and also to welcome others in. And from that moment of Passovers, that evening, so many thousands of years ago, we became a people who stand vigilantly to see the new and to see those who are kind of on the margins and welcome them in. So we hope that you'll eat and that you'll be nourished, but also importantly, you'll talk to people at your table and get to know them and maybe discuss something, related to Passover themes or this evening in some way. And that by the end of the next 45 minutes of eating, you will not only be nourished, but you'll also have kind of metabolized, hopefully, another soul's story a little bit. And so, Rebecca, tell us what to do.
Okay, so I lived in Israel the last 7 years, and normally this is where the mad dash happens, but I'm back in America, and I know we can do this. So, does anybody know the word in Hebrew, maslul? I have terrible Hebrew, but I've got 15, my husband's laughing, 15 good words, and one is maslul. So we're gonna do what's maslul in English? We're gonna have a maslul, right? So these two tables, a lane, thank you. So these two tables will start here. The same food is on each side, and you got to bring your own plate from your table. So I know, come with your plates. So you guys can start over here, and these two tables over here, I know we can do this like the Americans. We know we are. The furthest two, excuse me. The 1, 2, the wise one over there, his table, and the one next to him. And then the middle, I'm sorry, will wait just a little bit longer.
What about the people on Zoom?
And on Zoom, enjoy. So come on, come on up. I'm here too, come on up. That's all I've got in Hebrew.
I love the tables that are left waiting. So good. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya.
This would never happen in Israel. It's shocking, really.
That's true. Hey ya, hey ya. People will be out protesting right now. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya.
Did all the Jews cross the Red Sea at the same time? Do you think they like waited in lines? It's coming to my mind as we wait. I think if you're ready to come on up, come on up. I want to call on you, but it's just to go wait on a long line.
Totally strange.
How's it going? You know this is Ben Mary's
Carmen? Unbelievable. We found it. Now, okay, everybody. Okay, everybody, popcorn. Popcorn out. If God wrote a secret letter to you and put it under your pillow, and it gave you news about something that you needed to hear in the world, a basara tova, a good news, some gospel, a truth that we all needed to hear. This is the hidden piece that the child comes to bring to us. And we had 4 children speaking tonight with their truth. Call out, no, not sentences, like, a phrase, a fragment. Before we eat the afikomen, which our tradition says is the last thing that we're supposed to eat. Of course, there's some delicious dessert here anyway, but if this would be the last taste tonight, as our Tom told us, our simple child said, what would you be leaving with tonight in your little Oreo, not your Jewish fortune cookie called the afikomen cookie? What would it say to you? Bob. There is enough, you are enough. Go, someone. I mean, it's hard to go after that. You know, once you say it's enough, like, yes. Arden. Lucky number, 613. Love it. Hamevin Yavin. Yeah, go. Anyone else? What's in your Oreo, in your Afikoman cookie? Yeah. Afi cookie. Repair is possible. Repair is possible. Rebirth is possible. It's never too late. Beautiful. Love that. I feel like we're on the Family Feud. It's like, you know, good answer, you know. It's a Family Feud. Good answer, yes. It's okay, live fully, everyone can. One more, Emily. All of us and all of them, there's room. Afi Koman. Afi cookie. So even as you're enjoying some of these delicious messages, we're gonna make our way to the third cup of wine, which is the blessing over the grace after meals. So pour yourself a little bit of wine. If you're green and jolly, please have some wine. And we're gonna do Brecha Chamana.
Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, nine, nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Brich Rachmana, Malka de Alma, Mare de Haitita. Brich Rachmana, Malka de Alma, Mare de Haitita.
You are the source. You are the source of life for all that is.
And your blessings flow through me. You are the source of life for all that is. And your blessings flow through me. Brich Rachmana, Malka de Alma, Mare Haitita. Brich Rachmana, Malka de Alma, Mare
הרחמנו
וישלח לנו את אליהו הנביא. הרחמן הוא ישלח לנו את אליהו הנביא בתורתו. ויבשר לנו לנו, ויבשר לנו לנו, ויבשר לנו בשורות טובות, ישועות הנחמות. Nay, 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 nay,
So Ari, we're not yet on the slides that I gave you, so we'll be there in a sec. So Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet. So this is This is Elijah's cup. Now, in many households, many seders, perhaps in your experience, there's a whole chair, a whole place setting for Elijah in addition to the cup. But this cup will have to do for all of us. And of course, in a couple minutes, we're going to get up and we're going to welcome Elijah. But why Elijah? Like, why is Elijah coming into the Seder? I'll tell you why. Because Elijah's a badass. I mean, if you think about Elijah, Elijah did many things and he has many characteristics. But like one was during the time of King Ahab, Elijah challenged 850 of the high priests that worshiped Baal. And he challenged Baal to a contest. Who could light the sacrament on fire without lighting the match? And of course, did the 850 priests do it? No. Did Elijah do it? Yes. Who's more powerful, Baal or Yahweh? Yahweh. So that's why we bring Elijah into a Seder, because Elijah proved way back then that if you have faith in everything, in what's good, then you can triumph. And of all the times to have that faith, a Seder where we are talking about triumph over Pharaoh. But of course, Pharaoh is not just times of old. We have our pharaohs of today, as we've talked about. We have ourselves, we have personal pharaohs, but we have real pharaohs in the world. We've lived through, in our generations, we've lived through German pharaohs, we've lived through Pol Pot, we've lived through Stalin. We've lived through Assad, Hussein. Everyone has their own political pharaoh you've lived through. You might consider Trump, I'm not sure I put him on the same level. And maybe Putin now. If we were in Ukraine right now, there were people just like this a year ago, sitting having a nice Seders, or just before a year ago, and the whole world crumbled. In our time, in our day, people just like us, their lives completely ruined by a true Pharaoh. So that's why we bring Elijah, and we don't see who that is, because Elijah represents, for all ages, who the Pharaoh is. So bring up the first slide, Ari. So in the 11th century, so who knows their history? What was happening in the 11th century? What kind of things were happening?
Go back.
What kind of things were happening to the Jews? Crusades. So the rabbis during the Crusades in the 11th century.
Keep going, Ari.
Brought up.
Keep going.
It put a prayer in the section on Elijah.
Wait a second.
And where do we have it? Maybe
I'm
we
not
don't
sure
have it.
which
Is it not in there?
direction you need me to go in.
All right, it's a section called the Cup of Elijah. It's a big
section. It was supposed to be right. It was before that part.
Okay, we don't have it. Here, it's right here. Look. It's right here.
No.
I
I
think
can
it did.
see if it's backward because we
yeah,
had
it's gotta
Brucha
be in there.
Hamana.
I remember putting it in there.
Shulchan Aruch, it would be after Shulchan Aruch.
No, it's going to be all the way. Wow.
Keep going after Shulchan Aruch. Keep going, Hallel. Okay.
That's the one.
Okay. Here. So here, I have an exhibit. Yeah, let me have the slides themselves. Thank you. So
Right,
here,
you want
everybody
me
can
to-
look.
Should I stop sharing?
Come on.
So this prayer was put into the Haggadah in the 11th century, and it says, "Pour out your wrath. Pour out your wrath." Maybe you've done it at a Seder. Pour out your fury upon the nations. Pour out your wrath upon them. Pursue them in rage and destroy them from under. This is what people were thinking in the 11th century, because at a Seder like this, when they opened the door for Elijah to come in, there were often pogroms held on that night. There would be pogroms on the night of the Seder. So opening the door to your home when there was a pogrom could happen was a true act of bravery and defiance. Fast forward 500 years, and 500 years later, what was happening then? The Renaissance, right? Now, the Renaissance, the Jews were feeling a little bit better and a little bit safer. So the rabbis in Worms, this is the first place it happened, in the town of Worms, added a prayer, and they substituted, they took the exact prayer, pour out your wrath, and they substituted the word ahava, love. Pour out your love. And in the same Haggadah, when there's a copy of Haggadah, these are printed from a Haggadah, or taken from a Haggadah, right next to pour out your wrath, the rabbis added, pour out your love. And Elijah is also about love. Elijah, of course, also was the heralder of the Messiah. He would talk about the Messiah and about redemption. So the psychologists today say that true change comes not by simply denying anger and hate, because you can't deny it because it's real, but you have to pair it with compassion and love. When you fight hate with hate, and that's all you do, you don't reach the Messiah. So here's a picture of somebody that sometimes makes me crazy and angry. It's my son. Now he's 5, so when he makes me angry...
Jeff, if you let me share my screen, I'm just trying to join the Zoom, I'll be able to share the Google slide that Jeffrey's holding up, okay?
Elliot, can you zoom in on this? On the...
No, if they just let me share, I'll share.
You should be able to share.
So this little guy, when he makes me angry, it doesn't take me long to regain my compassion. It just takes a few minutes, because I understand who he is, where he's coming from, and I soften, and I love him even when he's flailing at me with those little fists of his. Now, when this little girl, my wife, Shelley, when she gets angry and starts flailing her little fists proverbially at me, I can still summon compassion. I can still bring those two together, anger and compassion at the same time. It just may take me a little bit longer sometimes with her. You ever have that experience? So it's possible to do. It's possible to pull it all together. Well, what about this guy? Who knows who this is? So Charles Whitman, August 1st, 1966, climbed up to the top of the tower of the University of Texas at Austin, locked the door behind him, and a military trained sniper randomly shot and killed 16 people and wounded 33 before the police finally broke down and got him. So the police searched his home after to see what could possibly have been the motivation. And they found a note, and it said, "You'll find this after I'm dead. Please figure out what happened to me. For months, I've been suffering from intolerable headaches. I've been to psychiatrist after psychiatrist, and I've pleaded for help. I felt uncontrollable rage, and I didn't know what to do, but nobody could help me. Please find out what happened." And they did an autopsy on this gentleman, and they found a glioblastoma pressing on his amygdala. So, do you hate this guy? Do you feel compassion? How do you hold these two things? Elijah gives us that question, gives us that opportunity. No easy answers. That's why when we stand up and we turn toward the door, we can only use our imagination to see the face of Elijah the prophet, who heralds the Messiah coming through the door at our table.
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu HaTishbi. נוח בן דוד, אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז. הייתה יהודה וקודשו ישראל, ממשלותיו הים רעב הינוס, הירדן תיסוב לאחור, ההרים רקדו חילים, גבעות כבני צאן. מה לך הים כי תענו, הירדן תיסוב לאחור, ההרים תרקדו חילים, גבעות כבני צאן. מלפני אדום חולי ערב, מלפני אלוה יעקב, ההופכי הצור הגמאים, חלמיש למיינו מים. ניי 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 יאי ניי ניי יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי ניי יאי ניי 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 יאי ניי 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 קדש וחץ כרפס יחץ מגיד רצה מוציא עם מצה מרור קורא שולחן עורר צפון בערך הלל נרצה.
You might have skipped the third cup, but if this is not, have two right now, okay? So here we go. The fourth cup of wine, cup of Leah, the cup of Atzilut. We didn't explain any of these terms. We're all a little bit tipsy right now. This is the fourth cup of wine. This is the fourth verb of Lakicha is also married. Okay. Gesundheit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bodei pri hagafen. Mamash Atzilut, what Jeff is talking about, Alpion. Like if the whole story of the Exodus is just to teach us that what is hateful unto you, do not do to someone else. And we know so deeply now as Jews, maybe in the history of our people, we've never had a greater challenge than the challenge not of exile, but the challenge of sovereignty. Maybe there's no greater challenge in Jewish history than the challenge of what it is to be a people that were so traumatized that to open up a door could mean the end of your life, that to open up a door could mean exile from your home. But now after 2,000 years of exile, to come back to our own home and to also recognize that our home, wasn't a land without a people, for a people without a land. There was a land with a people, for a people without the land. And now that we both have the land, how do we live and share that land together is a question that has been plaguing us since the beginning. And there are a lot of really smart people who have a lot of smart ideas about how to fix it, but I'm certainly would love to listen to them, but we haven't had the will or the interest really, or the trust. And so even tonight's not a night to fight about the politics, but to lament that I think everybody can agree we wish that it were different. I don't know a friend in the world who's on the center or right on the political spectrum who wouldn't say, do you wish that it were different? And I think they'd say yes. And I don't know a friend on the center or on the left of the Israeli political system that if you ask them, do you wish it were different, who wouldn't say, we wish it would be different. And certainly we've seen in the last couple of weeks just an incredible upsurge of the spirit of those in Israel who are taking to the streets, who are using peaceful protest and vocal, vociferous protest in order to call a halt to what this current government is plans were in order to more effectively come to the table and talk about what's in the best interest of all the people of Israel at this current moment. And so we're so thankful for that, and we hope that and pray that people will come to the table in good faith and do the things that need to be done for the sake of all the people that live there, including, of course, the Palestinians. It's complicated. It really is. The occupation is complicated. In certain circles, you can't even say that word. And in other circles, you can't say it's complicated. In certain circles, you can't say it's complicated, it's simple. They use terms that are horrifically imbalanced and inaccurate. Apartheid, go to Israel, tell me. And it's not sustainable. It corrodes the moral fabric of Israel. It corrodes the integrity of what it is to be a people that once experienced Pharaoh and are now living with 3 million brothers, sisters, cousins who don't have full rights. There's a lot of work to do on their, quote unquote, that side. And there's a lot of work to do on the other side, quote unquote, so that there aren't sides. There's just one mass of humans wanting desperately to live in peace and to be able to feed their children and to go to work every day. It's enough already. It's like you come to the end of the Seder and you want to be able to say, enough already. Enough. But there's a lot of hard work left to do. But for tonight, all of you here, you worked hard. You ate matzah. You ate chicken and maybe some vegetarian things, and you listened and you drank wine and you sang and you waited for the food like we wait for the Messiah to come. And it came. And so as we come to the end of our Seder, we have what's called nirtza, which means ritzui, which means being pleased. Like, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for these human beings that joined us on this unique, never repeatable night. Thank you, God, for all the people that have been with me in my life and are with me in my life. Thank you, God, for these words and these songs and these traditions. And thank you, God, for the ability to digest matzah. And thank you for dessert that didn't taste like it was Passover dessert. Where did that come from? That was not in Egypt with us. We would have stayed. Oh my God. Thank you for Elijah and his reminder that to stand strong in your beliefs. And And thank you for the Renaissance that told us that love is the hardest mountain to climb, but the closest one. And when we're looking at the world from that vista, it's really clear that in the end of the day, at the end of every day, the question that will be asked is, did you put more love into the world today? More love into the world, because there's only one measure by which we can say, you know, I spent my time here well. So did you put more love in the world today? Did you put more love in the world, in your own heart, and in those around you? Did you find that simple child and say, it's really simple? Put more love in the world. Did you find that other who felt unseen and say, you know, there's plenty of room at this table. Pull up a seat. And even for really, really smart people and those who don't even know how to ask, we've got plenty. So on behalf of the Romemu community, Rabbi Koloresis, Shimon, Rebecca, and Jeff Kahn and his beautiful Torah tonight, Shikoch to you, Peretz. Rebbe. Elliot, thank you. And to Ari, and to all the people online. I have no idea where the camera is, but somewhere you're looking at me, somewhere, and us, and all of us. Yeah, oh, there it is. Hi. There are a lot of people who were working all day waiting for you guys. Victor Ramirez, and Blanca, and Lenore, and Alan, and the whole Chaber. They're going to come up, hopefully. They're probably exhausted, waiting for us to finish already. Almost there, guys. So as we nirtza, excuse me, that's a spreadsheet that you don't need to see. We're going to go to almost. Oh, it's not even in here, so I'll just do it by heart. It's okay. At the end of every Seder, we say, Chasal Sidor Pesach, Kehilchato, Kechol Mishpatov, V'chokotav V'hilchotav. We finished our Seder. We're good boys and girls and people. We jot every I and crossed every T. We drank our 4 cups and made some friends. We remembered freedom for another year, and we promise to never forget Jerusalem. Never forget that sacred center in the heart of every human that can never be defiled and never be extinguished and never ever be completely forgotten. God, bring us back to that place in ourselves, in our families, with our loved ones, with our Sinais and with our Shellys, and with our best friends, and with our communities, and with this city and this country and this world. May that sacred center always be profoundly alive for us, so that we might sing together, L'Shana Haba, B'Yushalayim Habenuya.
לשם ייחוד,
Please rise, everybody.
קודשא בריחו שכינתה, הנני מוכן ומזומן, לקיים מצוות עשה, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו רוח העולם, אשר קידשנו, במצוותיו וציוונו. הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר. יא ניי 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 ניי.
Tonight it is tonight, everybody, so count after me. Hayom Yom Echad LaOmer.
אחד לעומר.
First of 49 days on the way to Shavuot, everybody. Right? First night is Chesed Shebechesed, full of loving kindness. And so, speaking of loving kindness, we have this incredible operations team. Come in, guys. So we have some songs, everybody. If you want to stay and sing, sit down, and we're going to do some songs, and then we're going to get going. Everybody's welcome to stay. Really, you can get going. So just a couple of songs. Adir Hu.
אדירו, אדירו, יגאלנו בקרוב, במהרה, במהרה, בימינו בקרוב. הרגעה, הרגעה, יגאלנו בקרוב. בחור הוא, גדול הוא, דגול הוא, יגאלנו בקרוב. במהרה, במהרה, בימינו בקרוב. ירגע אל בני ביתך בקרוב. הדור ותיק הוא, זכאי הוא, יבנה ביתו בקרוב. במהרה, במהרה, בימינו בקרוב. אל בני ביתך בקרוב.
אני יודע.
אחד מי יודע, אחד אני יודע, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. שניים מי יודע, שניים אני יודע, שניהם לוחות הברית. אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. שלושה מי יודע, שלושה אני יודע, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית. אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. ארבע מי יודע, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שניהם לוחות הברית. אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. חמישה אני יודע, חמישה אני יודע, חמישה חומשי תורה, 4 אמהות, 3 אבות, 2 לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ.
We're gonna stop there, a little bridge version. Okay. How about? Do people know this one? Ooh, ah, I say ooh, ah, I say one it. Ooh, who knows one? I know one. One is a sham, one is a sham, one is this like a from me Orthodox thing? It's like NCSY, I think, or something like that, right? In the heavens and the earth. Bum, boom, bum, 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 bum. Who knows two? I know two. 2 are the tablets that Moshe brought. One is a sham, one is a sham, one is a sham. In the heavens and the earth. Ooh, I say ooh, Who knows 3? I know. 3 are the papas and 2 are the tablets that Moshe brought. One is a sham, one is a sham, one is a sham. In the heavens and the earth. I say ooh, I say, who knows 4?
I know 4.
4 are the mamas and 3 are the papas and 2 are the tablets that Moshe brought. One is a sham, one is a sham, one is a sham. In the heavens and the earth. And the earth. Chad Gadya.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. There's a bin Abba betrays who say
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya, Ve'ata shuncha ve'achla legadya. There's a bin Abba betrays who say Chad Gadya.
Who's gonna make the noises? You have to make the sounds. Ve'ata chalba, ve'nashach l'shora, achla legadya, tum tum. There's a bin Abba
betrays who say
Chad Gadya,
Chad Gadya.
Ve'ata chutra ve'hika lechalba. 1 second, I said dog. Thanks. Denashach l'shunra, cat. The achla legadya, that ate the goats. Man. There's a bin
Abba betrays who say Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Ve'ata nura, sound of fire. What's the sound of fire? Crackle. V'saraf lechutra, and burn the stick. They hit the dog.
Denashach l'shonra,
Ve'achla
legadya. Zabin Abba betrays who say Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Ve'ata Mike in the water and Chaba lenurash. The sarav lichutra that burned the stick. Deika likalba. Zachshach lishura.
Ve'achla legadya. Zabin Abba betrays who say Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Ve'ata Torah. That's an ox. Ve'shata lemaya. חבל לנורה, ושרף לחוטרה, דהיקלך כלבה, דנשך לשון רע, דאכלה לגדיה, דרבין אבא בתרזוז, חד גדיה, חד גדיה, ואתה השויכת. ושחד לתורה, ושתה למיה, וחבל לנורה, ושרף לחוטרה, והיכה לכלבה, ונשך לשון רע, ואכלה לגדיה, וזבין אבא בתרזוז, חד גדיה, חד גדיה.
There's 2 more parts. Let's skip over the day.
ואתה מלאך המוות.
What's a good malach hamavet?
ושחט ושוחט, ושחת לתורה, ושבתא למאיה, וחבא לנורה, ושרף לחוטרה, והיכה לכלבה, ונשך לשונרה, ואכלה לגדיה, וזבינה בביטרי זוזי חד גדיה, ואתה הקדוש ברוך הוא.
What's that sound like?
ושחת למלאכה מוות, ושחת לתורה, ושבתא למאיה, וחבא לנורה, ושרף לחוטרה, והיכה לכלבה, ונשך לשונרה, ואכלה לגדיה, וזבינה בפיתרי זוזי חד גדיה.
Okay, everybody. I think we're done. Just a quick announcement for everybody. There will not be services tomorrow morning at Romemu. For those of you who are expecting to be here or to be online with us, we will have services tomorrow night and on Shabbat morning as well. So we wish everybody like an amazing night's rest, get some sleep. I will be taking off so I can talk at some point and sing again sometime. But thanks to all of you for making tonight amazing. Baruch Hashem. All right, guys. Chag Sameach.
לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה, היה 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 יהו, היה 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 Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, oh. שנה לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה ירושלים הבנויה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו.
Go off.
אתן לכם רע